Hi, everyone. We're live now on Facebook and the Zoom call, so I hope everybody can hear me. And I see my good friend Libby that has the Bras Thermography in Springfield, Missouri is online. So I'm going to say, hey, if you can't hear me, Libby, let me know, or if you can't see the images. So we're going to be talking about blood pressure today. And thank you so much for joining. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on that, and we'll see where it gets us today. Well, I love it here. See where we're at.
It must be the weather, cold and snowy and
Like,
icy.
where's my screen? It's like, okay.
That picture behind you reminds me of what it's like outside today, cold, snowy, and icy.
So how is the weather? Anybody in sunny Florida, or do we have some warm weather there? Everybody else is in freezing weather and snow, I'm assuming.
It's been below zero here, but it's supposed to get better today in Iowa. Sunny Iowa.
There you go. Your imaging is coming up.
Okay, so we're ready, gals and guys. So we have some fun things. I wanted to start off, if I got the right picture, just to have fun. I talked to somebody this just yesterday, and she was telling me that she had used the WAVwatch with a duck, with her duck. That was an adopted duck. And that they simply had the WAVwatch on their wrist, and then they put a towel over it. And then the duck just walked right up and put his head or her head on the area where the WAVwatch was. And the duck was sick. They thought they were going to lose it, big story. And they were syringe feeding her and then just using the WAVwatch. And she just said she survived. And she just thought it was so cute that the duck just really took to the WAVwatch. And then the rest of her story, which I don't know if you can see it on the screen here, but basically the chickens in that area also circled around and really enjoyed just standing there. And she said the chickens acted different than they ever had before. So they all came up and watched the duck laying on the WAVwatch. Anyway, so now I have images of cats, dogs, ducks. Somebody is experimenting with a goat. And also I have a horse that definitely is doing some good there, but I don't have an image of that. So you never know what can happen when you have fun with your pets. So appreciate it so much that people are sending me images. I'm trying to see, there we go. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Have fun with your animals and let me know if there's anything else that any other animal that you've worked with. Don't forget, I know I've covered this time and again, but there are new people. You're going to try to wear your WAVwatch on your left hand because you absorb energy through your left hand and you share energy through your right hand. Now, when you're working with a pet, no complications there. Just get the pet to hear it or feel it. Also, each frequency is like a different song. And, just like there might be a song that you like, but there's 5 different singers. They all have their own version. They hum along a little bit differently. And you might like one version better than another. So your body is the same way. There might be 4 versions for, say, like I think there were several on diabetes, maybe diabetes 1, diabetes 2, or parasites. I know there's parasites 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are all just a little bit different variation and version. So you do want to try those and just see if your body likes one better than the other. And then the idea would be if your body dances to one of them more, or if you can feel it, if you feel anything, then try to turn your watch on, hold it for the second on the side so that your screen lights up, and then basically take note of that and play that one later. You're going to play your favorite song more than you would a version that you don't like. Doesn't that make sense? I try to explain it just really easy for songs, because these are songs. They're a little bit more like a bee-buzz. But that way, maybe you can explain it to somebody else in some simpler terms, because our job today, everyone, I think, is to be sharing ideas about taking care of our bodies in a much different manner than we ever have for many, many years. We are learning so much information that has been withheld from us. That's the way I'm going to say it. And frequencies was one of those things. So starting from the 1850s, there was information about frequencies, and it just has a long story. I'm not going to tell it all today. But anyway, frequencies have been not in our repertoire of taking care of ourselves, although some people knew that they could sing. They knew they could hum. They knew there was chanting. They know that there are tuning forks and the like. And so we do have a little bit of that, but we're not realizing how much frequencies are around us every day and affect us and can be used for our good. So again, I'm sure I maybe covered this just last week. I try to rotate ideas, but we do have some favorites, a playlist that's already been made for you. And I think my best example is that there is a category, a separate icon for Lyme disease, and there are 25 different ideas in there. And I did have a lady that set up her own playlist, and she had about 70 ideas in it. So it was very interesting. And she did say she was working on Lyme. And I said, oh, well, did you find all of the Lyme ideas? And she said she had put Lyme disease into her playlist. And I said, but wait a minute, there's 20 some other ideas that are about Lyme disease, and you need to cover all of those. So then a light bulb kind of went off, Oh, so that's why I have made the playlist, because if you have a watch that has the 850 ideas listed alphabetically in the folders A to Z, now not all of them have that, some of them still have folders, but if you have one that has 850 and you're just using the down arrow to go through all of them and find something, you're probably not going to realize and find all of the 20 plus ideas that I have for Lyme disease. So that's what the playlists are for. But of course, you can make your own, because everybody has their own different idea and how they want to do something. And that's what makes the watch fun, that you can use a tool and change it for you. And then also, the biggest question people probably ask is, how long can I play it? There doesn't seem to be a right or a wrong. Just think about this. We hear sounds all night long. There's street sounds, there's somebody playing some music, there's noise in the house. Our body is hearing sounds all day long and all night long. So normally it's not going to hurt you to wear your watch quite a bit and to loop some of those frequencies. Now, I know I mentioned this last week, but not everybody's on every week. I think one of my favorites lately has been the vagus nerve. And it is a very soft sound. You can't even really hear it. I'm deaf in one ear and I can barely hear it, but it does so much for me, because this is a nerve that's, running through your head and all the way down, through your intestines and all kinds of things. So that's become my favorite one, and I will loop it all night long. And when I wake up after I've looped that, I don't have any sinuses or congestion. My brain's clear, those kind of things, where if I don't wear it, I do notice those. So again, that's one I wear all night long. So you can make your choices, but I have given you an 8-minute minimum, and that is the suggested time. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about a little bit is blood pressure. And I am not an expert on this, so I really had to, kind of dig a little bit, but, and also realize some figures, blood pressure is the leading risk factor associated with death worldwide. And so we are seeing that about 12 to 13% of deaths are from blood pressure. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes us want to do something about blood pressure. Now, nearly 50% of us have hypertension. Many of us have it and don't even know it. It kind of creeps up on us. So, of course, there's more and more things coming out. Now, somebody could correct me on this, but I didn't find on the internet that an Apple Watch is measuring blood pressure at this time. They are heading that way. It says that future Apple Watches may measure blood pressure. So that's really important for some people. But I think most of you know by now that I'm not a fan of wearing an internet around on your wrist. The WAVwatch does not do that. But some of our other tools, you are connected all day long to frequencies and energy that are very negative on your body. But I'm just letting you know that that's going to be a big push, that you can measure your blood pressure. And then we have several tools at home and ways that we can measure blood pressure. And that's kind of important too. Some people are really concerned about their blood pressure, so they're going to buy a tool. These were in the $50, $60 range. And so I think my big question is, we can measure all day long. So what do we do about it? Nobody is teaching us what to do about us or educating us or helping us. So, I'm kind of proud to say that the WAVwatch has some frequencies for blood pressure. So now you have a tool that, maybe your blood pressure is high, but now you can put your WAVwatch on and try to work with it. So the ones specifically that are in the blood pressure are circulation, high blood pressure, there's hypertension, portal, hypertension, pulmonary, hypertension, hypotension, inflammation, pain, and trauma, and low blood pressure. So we have some choices that we can do. And like always, there's more than one thing that we can do. So these are some specific ideas just for blood pressure. So just knowing that 50% of us are probably having blood pressure and don't even know it, and that it's one of the, it's a big worldwide factor for deaths, that's something that we could do very easily for prevention. So we could play those very, very easily. Now, I thought I wanted to give you a little bit more information about the portal hypertension. So this is where we have blood pressure in our veins. And these are the veins that come from the stomach and the intestine, the spleen and pancreas, and they merge through to the liver. So of course, if you know that, you're going to be playing the liver. You could go to the pancreas, the stomach, and the kidney. So I didn't think what kidney was in there, but it's actually not part of that group, but that's one way that we're going to be playing later anyway. So when you have hypertension, you're going to have some large swollen veins. You might have all kinds of stomach, rectum, umbilical area problems, some bleeding, cramps, shortness of breath, and confusion. Mental problems are some things that tell us that we might have some hypertension, portal hypertension. So again, play the liver, pancreas, stomach, if you know any of those ideas. Very, very important. And then kidney goes in with hypertension also. Now we have pulmonary hypertension, a little bit different kind. And I'm just kind of showing you this, what it is, because I don't know that I could rattle off what it is. It was so nice to have the internet to show us. And I do love the internet. It is very informative. I know we can't believe everything, but go to Mayo Clinic. They've got an image up with what it looks like when the veins in the blood vessels in the lungs become thickened, blocked, destroyed, and we have blood pressure increasing in the lungs. So we have pulmonary hypertension. So that's a little bit of what it looks like inside our body. Huge, huge connection that we might need to work on once in a while. And, I learned so much about my own body when I'm going through this, because I'm going, oh, wait a second, I do have shortness of breath, and it makes us think. And then you can go ahead and play that for prevention. Very important, although it does not replace going to your medical doctor, checking out more ideas. If you're having some bleeding, obviously you better go somewhere and get something done. Very, very important to know some of the symptoms and get them looked at. And again, I can't say that this replaces anything medical. I'm just saying you have something on your wrist that you can use, because sometimes you might not be able to get into the doctor for a while, or you may have to make some decisions about taking the jab before you get into the doctor, all kinds of ideas. So at least you have something. So another idea for this, obviously, is to play the lungs. So we have so many things in this particular folder that could possibly be helpful. And again, I would open up the lungs, which are in the organ systems, and then you're going to play through all of them. Or maybe you're just going to pick one or two. It's your choice, so you can play it. You are in charge of your health a little bit more with these targeted frequencies. And so obviously we have pulmonary edema, pulmonary emphysema, pulmonary fibrosis, so many things that you could do that might work for you or with you or in conjunction with the hypertension that you are maybe feeling in your lungs. Very important to play more than one idea on the watch. Now, just about blood pressure itself, we have so many ways to measure it. And some of you are going to be way beyond me, because I don't measure my blood pressure, I guess. But anything above the 130, 80, falls into hypertension stages. We're 120, 80 is normal. Again, you can have high blood pressure for years without any symptoms. See, so that makes me think, well, maybe I should start, measuring my blood pressure. I do not know, but I know that if I start having symptoms, I would go to a doctor and get it checked out a little bit more. So that's what all of us need to do, is be aware and get to the right person.
Hey, Linda.
Yes.
I just wanted to say my son, who is a cardiologist at Mayo Clinic, has told us that the proper way to measure your blood pressure is to sit at a table. So like a dining room table, if it's a blood pressure cuff or whatever it is, put your arm on there. You're to take 3 different measurements, not just one. Take it 3 times with a little bit of time in between each. And then you take the average of those 3, and that's actually your true blood pressure. Great
information. Great, because that's, we're in charge of that, So here's a chart, and I just got it off the internet. There's all kinds of charts like this that gives us a little bit of ideas. And I'm sure if you have a blood pressure cuff, it's going to come with its own chart so that you know where you're at and the numbers that you're monitoring. But just like Libby said, you're going to be sitting, and Libby has such good information. It just turns out her son is a medical doctor in Florida at Mayo Clinic. So what information that he has. So again, we have so many problems with high blood pressure. Here we go again: heart disease, heart failure, stroke, kidney damage, vision problems, memory loss, and cognitive decline. So these are going to start, and we need to be measuring our blood pressure a little bit more, going somewhere. Maybe somebody you know has one at their house, and I've got a blood pressure cuff somewhere. But like I said, I'm a little bit lax. I don't use it enough. So anyway, that might be something you want to check, learn about, pick up your own tool to measure it, whatever you need, especially if you're having some of these symptoms, and especially as some of us age. Now, everybody isn't aging, you know, we don't want to admit to that, but sometimes things do happen. So here's some more frequencies that are on the WAVwatch. We have all of these for heart. We have all of these for kidneys. So if we're having hypertension, we're going to be needing some of these ideas right here. So again, don't forget to play through all of them to start with, and then at a later stage or after you play through all of them, narrow it down if you want to play through a specific one. But there are so many things on the WAVwatch you can do that are outside of just the label blood pressure. We have to think through our health a little bit more. And you know, we're all created amazingly. You know, God created us this way, and everything connects to something else. It's not just by itself. We don't have blood pressure as just one problem over here. You know, everything is in our system is tied together. Now, this is what we're lacking, maybe, and maybe they're telling us some of this information, and maybe they aren't. I haven't been to a medical doctor for blood pressure care, so I don't know if they're passing out information like this. It's kind of, you know, in that normal range here, what you would expect. They're going to tell you that your weight is a problem, lack of exercise is a problem. Maybe you're not taking probiotics. That's probably not going to come from a medical doctor, but that is one kind of an idea. Now, I'm sure that we're told to stay off of salt, get off of salt, and we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But the wrong kind and the wrong amounts can be huge in our system. Medications are going to be very problematic. Alcohol and tobacco are also known risk factors. Now, the WAVwatch can't take care of any of that, but it does have a code for addictions. So if you're having some trouble with mine would be food, that's possibly a situation that you could work through and use it. Now, the main thing I wanted to talk about, in the next couple slides is stress. Do they tell us? Maybe somebody can relate to this here in a minute, or, feel free to open up and share. There's just a small group of us, but yes, would we be told that we need to relax, that we need to get stress out of our life if we have high blood pressure? So that's one of the major things that the WAVwatch is very helpful for, is emotions and stress. So I just, found a few of them. There are actually 85 different ideas for emotions. Now don't forget that most of the emotions, especially the Bach remedies, are hard to hear. And I know the word Bach may be a little bit different for some people, but Bach was a medical doctor in 1920s England, and all of these emotional codes are named after him. So what he did was actually, I think, I love his phrasing. My paraphrasing is that he said that God had given us everything that we needed in nature to take care of our physical needs. So he knew that God had also put plants and things for our emotional needs. So his job, his life's work, was to find plants that would work with specific emotions. So these are his remedies, and he was said to be able to, touch a plant or go to the oak tree and touch the bark and feel that particular plant would be helpful for such and such emotion. So of course he tested them on hundreds of people. And then they put together the emotions that these worked for the most. Now, in previous editions of the WAVwatch booklet, I have had the particular plant in there beside, like if I had addictions, anxiety, I have had the plant that he made it from, but I got where I ran out of room. And so I cut that off because people weren't understanding it anyway. But just to say that this is an old idea, again, that was poo-pooed, that it was said no. And basically what all of these are very specific herbal complements that now we've been able to measure the frequency of. So we have the frequency on the WAVwatch. We don't necessarily have to have 25 different bottles. We can use a frequency for these. So anyway, stress is one of the huge things. And of course, we're not stressed in today's society. There's no stress going on. I hope I can pun a little bit on that. But that's the major thing, really. That's why we are having so much trouble. I can feel myself watching too many programs, or podcasts or whatever, and I can just feel, my stress rising or whatever. So play those remedies, whether you just pick one or whether you started on the single Bach motions. There's 38 of them. I only listed a few here for the page simplicity, but play through all of those. It is not going to hurt you one iota because sometimes something is bothering you that you don't realize. So number one, stress. So we have it covered. So we're trying to work with something, not just tell people to take a prescription. Think outside the box and take care of your body in a different way. Targeted frequencies are great. Now, another one that they're going to be telling us about, obviously, or if you looked online, you would see that this is a cause of weight gain, this is a cause of high blood pressure is our weight gain. And of course, we've been sitting around for 2 years. We've been indoors. We may be indoors again. It's now winter time. And some of us can exercise. Some of us can't. The list goes on and on. So here's another idea. You could play through the weight loss and management. Maybe you're having trouble with the smoking or alcohol or food addictions. That's me. So you could play through the addictions. There are choices. It's not that you just sit and say, I don't know what to do. You have many choices to work with when you have the WAVwatch. So I hope that you're taking advantage of them. And I played tummy tuck. And just to remind some of you ladies, I had another testimony. Somebody said that she'd used the tummy tuck for about a week and she was so tickled with it. And I don't think she texted me. I just got a verbal, idea that she loved the tummy tuck. So try that again, ladies. And gentlemen, if you need to. Sorry about that. Now, this is my big topic for the day, probably, and this is the one that we've covered a little bit. But again, we just need to kind of hammer it home. I'll never forget when I taught accelerated 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They could remember things after you told them one time, or after they read it one time, or they could hear it one time, and it was in their mind. They never forgot it. But most of us have to have things told to us 14 different times before we remember that. So as a teacher, that's one of the things that we were taught. So minerals are one of the huge things that help our blood pressure. So we've got to help the potassium. We've got to make sure we have enough potassium because it lowers our blood pressure and helps the kidneys get rid of excess sodium. So what do we have? Sodium in everything. It just goes on and on and on. It's all refined salt, which is, I guess I don't know the figure offhand. I don't know, 80% sodium. I'm going to guess at that. But the sodium is completely out of balance with refined salt. So I do love that our medical doctors are telling us to stay off of salt when we have high blood pressure. But I don't know if they're telling us that we need to eat more of these foods. We need to be eating bananas, tomatoes, avocados, carrots, grapefruit, kiwi, lima beans, nectarines. There's a whole list of things that would help get natural potassium in. And then, yes, we should stay off of white salt, packaged foods, those type of an idea. Very huge. But What they're missing in telling us is that we should have unrefined sea salt, that this is huge. So again, here is a simple list. This came from Dr. Axe. And there is a Celtic sea salt. I don't know if I'm moving things around here so you can see, but the Celtic sea salt or the Himalayan salt, you may not be able to see all of that, but you can check that out real easily. Basically, it's going to, having trouble with my screen here. Sorry about that. The Himalayan salt and the Celtic sea salt have different minerals in them. And so in my office, I make people check 3 different kinds of salt. We talk about muscle testing. I show you how to muscle test. And then your body tells you which salt that you need. It's so important because it's really telling you, hey, I need this mineral. It doesn't take a lot to just look at the 2 pictures of the salt and see that they're different colored. Now, from my understanding and reading, the Himalayan salt has a little bit more iron in it. That's why it is pink. And then the Celtic salt is a little bit grayer, but I'm not sure what mineral gives it that cast. And then my other favorite salt is the real salt. And that's the one my body likes the most. And most women that have completed their cycles that are in menopause do not like the Himalayan salt. They like the real salt. There's something about that mineral balance and our hormones and our cycle, to me, that indicates what kind of salt that we usually like. But we're not taught that salt will alkalize the body. It balances blood sugars. It eliminates mucus buildup. And I even found somewhere that if you're having a lot of cough, that you can just put, half a teaspoon of salt on your in your mouth, and you will quit coughing. That mucus buildup changes very quickly. It helps with immunity. It's huge when you have 80 some minerals. I mean, how many of you are going to have 80 bottles sitting there every day and you're going to take these minerals? No, we're not. So we don't have these minerals. We haven't had these minerals for decades because we've been taught that white salt with fake iodine is what we need to take. So here's another list. It improves our brain function. Gosh, if you haven't heard this, this is why they fought wars over salt. Historically, that was a huge thing. We were as good as salt. They got paid salt wages. They fought wars over salt. And the reason they did it was because their tribes went crazy without salt. I don't know how much to, keep pushing this. Think about our seniors today that have not had salt for decades and decades that has the 80 minerals in it. We've been addicted to Morton salt, and we thought we were taking the right thing, because it had iodine in it. But no, Morton Salt is a chemical company. You go look them up. They are selling chemicals. And after they do their, processing or whatever, what they sell us is a dead product. So today, what we put on the streets, rock salt, is better for us than Morton salt or other brands that are refining it. So again, it's huge for our brain function. Libby, did you want to say something?
I did. I just wanted to comment on the fact that you mentioned the Himalayan salt with women who are postmenopausal. They don't seem to like it. As you just stated, the Himalayan salt actually promotes or, have iron in the body. And women who are postmenopausal, a problem for them, according to Dr. Mercola, is having too much iron in the body because you're not having a period anymore. And so they probably don't like that Himalayan salt if it is supporting iron in the body, because their body really actually has too much iron. So I thought that was an interesting comment that you made. Very, very insightful on your part about that. So
yes. And isn't that interesting that our bodies know? So I'm telling more and more of this to women that, hey, you don't need it. We don't need this extra iron. We've finished our cycle. We do not need this. So, and again, I've seen it, thousands of times with women. So I can say that across the board. Our bodies know. If you do not know how to muscle test, you can go back and see a couple of videos that I have made on muscle testing. But if if you've stopped your cycle, I would suggest that you take the real salt, Redmond's real salt. And I'm not for sure if I actually, found something on that, because I thought this was pretty good with Dr. Axe letting us know. Whoops, look what I just did. With Dr. Axe letting us know all of the things that salt can do. Now, I went just a little bit further. It increases energy, promotes restful sleep, prevents muscle cramps. I mean, some people realize now that if they're having muscle cramps, they just have their salt, setting somewhere. It's the unrefined salt, and they'll just take half a teaspoon in water, and that muscle cramp is gone immediately. I mean, it doesn't take 2 hours to go away. It's gone immediately. And of course, salt is going to regulate your heartbeat and your blood pressure. That's what we're talking about. All of these minerals in salt are helpful for your blood pressure. They're not going to hurt it. So yes, if a doctor tells you to stay off of salt, I hope and I assume that he's talking about the white refined salt. And I wish that they would have in their repertoire, but you should take one of these 3 salts because that does help with blood pressure. So I went to a couple of other sites, and here's, one from Empowered Sustenance. It promotes insulin sensitivity. It actually helps. It is a natural antihistamine. Salt is good for digestion. It improves metabolism. It supports our thyroid. My goodness, it reduces stress hormones. So I always say, if somebody says, is there anything I could do with the WAVwatch? It's like drink plenty of water and take salt. Those are the big things. And overall hormone balance. So here's salt again. And then I went through several different sites and I found more ideas about salt. This is all salt. So I hope you're seeing that salt is the most important thing that you could have on your shelf. So during my gathering up for ideas, just in case we need it and we're not able to go to the grocery store, I got bags of salt. I went to Florida one time and I bought like 20 pounds of salt. That was a special salt that my body loved. So I'm a salt person if you haven't gathered that already. So you can gargle for better oral health. Salt will decrease your appetite. We're always, looking for salt. And so we eat salty crackers. We eat salty potato chips. We want that salt. So instead of actually eating those, if you would just take some salt in your hand and, a drink afterwards, it would be the same effect. So salt decreases our appetite. Of course, we can put it on all kinds of salt baths. It's an exfoliant. It removes toxins. This was one I hadn't really picked up on. Normalizes cholesterol. Normalizes cholesterol. Don't forget that our brains are 60% cholesterol. Our liver makes cholesterol. So here we are being told to get off of salt, and then we have cholesterol problems and we have brain problems. So get that salt back in your system. And we haven't talked about the amount of salt yet. I'll go ahead with these ideas. Helps skin inflammation, in a paste form. You can do that. It's good for your bone structure and teeth. It's good for dry coughs, gout and arthritis. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, libido. I did not know that one or remember it or something. Spider veins. Reduces a double chin. So if you have a double chin, that tells you that your body is working extra hard, all these salivary glands, that it needs more water. So I actually I would be so thrilled if somebody would increase their salt intake and tell me if their double chin goes away or if they're having that. I don't even know. But I thought that was a great one. And then I have also been working with women for 15 years and telling them about salt and their breast health and how all of those minerals are so, so important. So the amounts that you take are very different from what we're used to. So again, one more idea, and I did not write this down, but they have measured, they have done research, they tracked every tribe around the world, if you want to say it that way, every culture around the world for 200 years. This was before refrigeration. And they could establish that every culture in the world took between 1 and 3 teaspoons of salt every day. And of course, it was from their dried food and their, fermented food. But as soon as we started refrigerating things, we threw that salt away. Well, we didn't help our bodies any. So we need to figure out how to get that salt back into our system. So that's huge. And so what I do, and you can do it anyway, I'm kind of, covering salt maybe a little bit more than I wanted to. It's my enthusiasm for it. But I muscle tested. My body tells me I need a teaspoon of salt every day. And big guys that come into my office, they think that is the silliest thing. And their body will always tell them 3 teaspoons of salt. And think how much our guys, exercise and, they work it out. And, when you sweat, you taste it, it's salty. The minerals have gone out of their system. So they're going to need quite a bit. So between 1 and 3 teaspoons, and I just put mine in water and take it every night before I go to bed. You can make a salt soleil. You can take salt throughout the day. Maybe just measure your teaspoon of salt, ladies. Now, real tiny ladies might need 1/2 teaspoon to 3/4. Middle-sized ladies might need, I don't know, 1.5 teaspoons. But the norm is 1, but you can vary it. And, put that on your counter and see how much salt you are really taking during the day. Because look at all the things that it could do just having the right amount of salt. So it's definitely worth our time here to do that. Okay. So now I'm kind of over salt. I hope I didn't oversalt you, but we got one more idea that we really have to go through. Medications are known to raise our blood pressure. So I had to really research on this, and I said it the wrong way. I didn't have to research much on this. It's all over. All you have to do is Google what medications raise my blood pressure, or the drug that you're taking, or you can read on the back of your prescription, whatever it is. So, decongestants, Sudafed, antidepressants, birth control pills will, of course, they're changing our hormones. So they're going to raise our blood pressure. Avastin, I'm sure I cannot say all of these prescriptions correctly. So I'm just going to let you look at them. All the things that we give to our kids, the Ritalin, the Adderall, different things that have been promoted for anxiety, anxiousness, that kind of thing, ADHD, are really connected to raising blood pressure. So pain medications, the list is endless. And if you are taking a particular medication, I would suggest that you look it up and make sure that it isn't raising your blood pressure. Very huge for us to know. And I don't know if this is, a screen that anybody wants to take a picture of or whatnot, but huge, huge, huge. And sadly to say, I have had several women who come in and they basically have said that their doctor, when they went to the doctor, that, the records were looked at and it's like, oh, you're 70 years old and you're not on any drugs. Well, let me see, so be very careful on what you decide to take, because sometimes, yes, I may be 70. I'm not sure how everybody else is in their age, but so they may be assuming that our blood pressure is high. and then they're going to start digging for us. Where if we are doing a little bit more work in the background on our own, and we have started taking our own blood pressure, or, we've checked that kind of thing, and we are making some of our changes, then you can confidently tell the medical doctor who may be wanting to give you blood pressure medication that you are working on it, and you'll come back in a week or two, or whatever he suggests if that doesn't work. And again, I'm not trying to say to overrule the MDs. I hope I'm not, saying it incorrectly. I'm saying start with taking care of yourself first. Start with realizing that, yes, we are prone to having higher blood pressure as we age, as things happen in our system, as we have more and more stress, because we've gotten ourselves off of salt, because we're not working out as much as we could. The list is endless, so that if we take better care of ourselves and we are having things checked at the medical community, they would have no reason to put us on anything and get us in the middle of making a hard decision about what we want to do for our health. I hope I said that correctly. So now these are some from Young Living, and I love different kinds of blood pressure. And somebody had posted this on the internet, and there's a number at the bottom, but it gives very specific directions for high blood pressure. So choose any one of the oils, or layer each oil a few minutes apart. Apply 1 to 2 drops and massage over the heart and carotid arteries along the neck. Blood pressure will start to drop in 5 to 20 minutes, but monitor and reapply if required. I love that. So the cypress, the yang yang, aroma life, lavender, and marjoram. So those were very good. But I could also see online, there was another list of 18 different things for blood pressure that were essential oils. So if you're an essential oil person, you don't have to go very far to, again, Google which essential oil is good for blood pressure, and see what you have in stock. See if you already have something that might be helpful. So we're going to reach out. We're going to be doing some different things for our blood pressure if we need to, and maybe prevention. So these are some herbal remedies. There are all kinds of supplements, herbal remedies that could be very, very helpful. And there we go. All of these. So there's ginger tea. There's, all of us should be using more garlic. I have a ginkgo biloba tea myself, another tea. So maybe some of these are included in some different teas that you have, but I think that's a really good way to work with different herbs is through the tea form. And then another home remedy for high blood pressure, lemons. Okay, so the lemons, what do you think they do? They're working with your liver. So lemon is one of the best ideas that the Chinese do for liver. And so that's what this idea is for. It's releasing and helping with your liver. The watermelon seeds, I hadn't really seen that one before as much. So that's a very good one. So to try that. Yes.
Hi, this is Ann. I was just going to tell you on the watermelon seeds, they're hard to get now because everything's seedless. But back when I was having my babies and I went to a naturopath in Arizona, they had me drink watermelon seed tea because it's a natural diuretic. And a lot of times people on blood pressure medication are also put on a water pill. So it is an amazing natural diuretic. I'm not over the top. It's just very balanced, but because I'd have like water balloon feet and only be able to wear my flip-flops, and then I would drink my watermelon tea or eat watermelon and chew the seeds up as you eat the watermelon. And it honestly worked. And traditional medicinals used to have watermelon seed tea. I haven't seen it in recent years. Have you seen
missed that one. I'm so glad you're educating us, letting us know.
Yeah, and I've looked for it since, and I don't have any problems with water retention now, but my husband, they're trying to put him on a water pill, and I'm like, gosh, I wish I could get my hands on some watermelon seed tea or something, or watermelons that actually still have the seeds in it. You can't find them hardly
No.
anymore. So
And maybe that's why I didn't know about it, because I've never seen watermelon seed tea or whatever, and I'm a tea person. I got all these varieties around,
you could look and see if it's still available anywhere, because it was kind of tasty. You got used to chewing them, and anyway, so that's interesting. That kind of
Lovely. Yeah,
reminded me.
anybody else use? So that's basically the last slide, is to let you know we can do more with foods. I've already mentioned bananas, celery. There's a whole celery concept out there for, working with that. Coconut water, honey, and then hot peppers, actually. So lots of things that we could do. So don't forget, other ideas for protection on the WAVwatch would be detox. I think this is a slide, an older slide, and I had forgotten. Germs are on there, but I could not find any connection with any pathogens and raising your blood pressure. Now, I didn't search for hours and hours, but I did not see connections with that. Mostly I saw connections with stress, and diet, exercise, that type of thing, and emotions, which we did cover that. But if anybody knows any particular pathogens that are connected with germs, I'd really like to know about that. So anyway, please, we are done for the some ideas, and I would love to have your input, see where we're at here. Anybody have anything else they want to put in? Educate us all. That's what we're doing by sharing and talking to each other. We all learn. So,
Linda, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Should I go ahead? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the biggie for blood pressure is also fish oil. High quality, high dosage of fish oil is also really helpful for blood pressure, and then it works on all the other cardiovascular things too, like cholesterol. But it's something where I work, we often recommended when there's blood pressure involved too. So maybe getting DHA and EPA to the tune of 2,000 milligrams a day, something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We can't get everything in an hour. I mean, we're already so many ideas, and it's lovely. So get our fish oil in. All right, Carolyn.
So what I have started doing, because I'm retired and I have the time, and a husband who likes to eat things he shouldn't, I cook most everything. I mean, yes, we go out to eat. It is a guilty pleasure. But I have taken and do all organic and replaced anything that calls for sugar with honey, anything that calls for oil with avocado oil, and use all, like the King Arthur flour is all organic, non-GMO. And I've had no complaints. As a matter of fact, I make our bread, and everything got better, and the white salt has gone away. It's all, I just happen to have Himalayan on hand. Things taste better. The product, in terms like the bread, is fluffier, rises better. Of course, that's probably the organic flour. But I can't say for sure that it's lowered our cholesterol and lowered our blood pressure. But I think we're working on it. So this video is going to be helpful as well.
Food. Always important. All right. Oh, Peggy, hello. Do you have any testimonies, or anybody want to share any testimonies? Can you, I don't know if you want to do that or not, Peggy. You get to unmute yourself down in the lower left corner. You'll have to unmute yourself. Any other testimonies?
Yeah, this is Janie,
Okay.
and I've got a testimony for your watch, I guess. I had gotten my blood pressure checked at a doctor's office, and it was extremely low. And it was one of those funny machines that I don't care for. And I didn't say anything. I just left. And the next week I was going to another doctor's office where they had real blood pressure machines, the old cuff type and the whole works, that without the fancy computer business, and blood pressure was extremely high. I mean, it almost scared me. And I did feel a little bit dizzy that day a little bit. And I've never seen a reading that high before. And she took it 2 times also within 15, 20 minutes apart, So I know it was high. And I was in town, of course, but I always take my trusty old WAVwatch with me. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I put it on stroke. And because that's the first thing I thought, geez, am I going to have a stroke? And you know what? It knocked that blood pressure down within probably 10 or 15 minutes. I could just feel it. I didn't get it measured or anything, but I could just feel it. I felt so much better. And I only ran it one time. I wasn't about to do it more than that. And
Wow.
And later I have also, when I get to feeling a little bit funny in my head, because I found that that's what's bothering me and I don't realize it. And I just run the hypertension. Usually the pulmonary is the one I've been using. And sure enough, in 15, 20 minutes, that dizziness will disappear and I'll feel really good. So definitely keep your WAVwatch at your side if you've got any problems like that. And I really didn't even know I had problems like that. It was just kind of
Wow.
an accidental thing. And it's not all the time. I don't have high blood pressure all the time, just kind of incidentally, but it worked wonderful. So keep that in mind.
Oh, thank you, Janie. Well, I think that's what surprised me is how many of us probably have high blood pressure and really aren't, don't know it. But again, I still feel it's a little confusing when we have to monitor every single thing about our bodies, when we have to have, XYZ things on to monitor this, something to monitor that. And then that makes our fear go up more, so we want to try to balance that. So we're monitoring things, we acknowledge something might be off, and then we work towards improving it rather than maybe not knowing, 2 different ways. Anybody else?
I have one thing, but it's vitiligo,
Uh-huh.
unrelated. So
No problem.
I've had vitiligo since I was in my 50s. 50% of my body the skin is just pure white. I started doing the vitiligo wavelength or the wave frequency. And I also, because I can have a normal life now, because I've gotten rid of the pain of the Tarlov cyst surgery, I can now play 18 holes of golf. And my skin is not burning, because with vitiligo, I know it's the watch, it's got to be. So I'm not getting sunburn. And I'm noticing that the white areas that are exposed to the sun are starting to tan up a little bit. And my husband has noticed it. So it's got to be the watch, got to be. And I'm not itchy and burning because of the sun also, because I've had a sun sensitivity my whole life. So my life of living indoors has just changed. I think I can be out and I'm playing golf and it's good.
Oh, Carolyn, what a testimony. Of course, like you say, you think it's the watch, I don't have any scientific information to prove that, but that's what we have to do, is say sometimes that our testimonies are more important or as important as some of the scientific quote unquote studies that they do. There's a lot of talk and discussion that we could have on scientific studies. But anyway,
I have a friend in Texas who's probably ordered 5 or 6 watches for her whole family. You probably saw that order come through, or it's coming. And there's vitiligo in their family, and they've done everything, because they're beautiful, beautiful women, to try to solve this problem. It has not solved. This watch is solving it for me. I have no doubt. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Peggy, I think I got you unmuted if you want to say anything or not.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Well, mine has nothing to do with any of this, Linda, but I was diagnosed as the last time I was there with you with this skin problem. And I have all these little, I don't know what they call them, these little brown patches and stuff that comes all over my skin. Well, I started wearing the WAVwatch. And one night I set it on skin disorders, and then I put it on moles. Well, I went to bed. I got up to go to the bathroom and I came back and it was like sand was scattered all over my sheets. And I swept and swept. I thought I was nuts. I thought it was my husband had drugged something in the bed. So that morning we got up and I had him to look, and we collected a bunch of it, and I've got it, and this looks like little white seeds or something, looks like sand. Every night I go to bed, I set that, and these things are disappearing off of me. It's just uncanny. I can't even explain it. But it's just from setting that on skin irritations, and then I set it on moles. And my husband told me last night, said, "Don't come to bed tonight filling my bed full of sand." He said, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So
Wow.
if
Okay.
anybody's having those problems out there, or anything, I know this really works. And my kids can't even believe it. They think I'm crazy, but I've got the proof in the pudding. We collected a bunch of the sand and we've kept it to just show them what comes out of mom, so I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you.
And Peggy, are you looping it all night long?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. See,
Yes,
people ask how long they can do it, and it's so variable, but here's an example of somebody looping it all night long. Okay.
I said it every night, Linda. I've done this. It's been going on a week. And last night I thought, well, surely I won't get anything tonight. Well, I put it back on there last night, and I'm not kidding you. Like my underwear, I don't know how it gets in there and how it does it, but I have to get up and clean my bed off. My husband got the sweeper out the other night. And that's how much comes out of me.
Wow.
Do you have any input on that?
No, I don't. I'm just amazed. I mean, I have had some, moles fall off, and, or testimonies, not me, excuse me, some testimonies of moles that fell off. Yes. And warts that fell off.
Well, I just put this on moles now. I do. It's all through my breast, up around through my breast and under my breast and on my back. I have this big patch that's on my back, and I've had them diagnosed, with Dr. Cleaver in Kirksville, dermatologist, and I forget what they even call them, but they're just like and when you pick at them, they're like they have little seeds in there, and this is what's coming out on the bed, on the sheets. They're just thousands of little seeds. So
wow.
I still can't believe it. I'm always glad to go to bed at night. I want to try it again to see what's going to happen.
Hey,
So
thank you. Oh, wow.
Hopefully that helps you. If you have anybody that's having problems like that, well, that's a testimony of mine.
So as it just goes, it's not going to hurt any of us to play through skin once in a while,
Oh, Linda, I run my watch constantly on everything, and it does not hurt you. I don't care what you put it on. It's not going to hurt you. If it doesn't work on that, just put it on something else. Me and my husband both, we wear our watches religiously.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to know that somebody uses it. Yeah. I think everybody here uses it, but appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Linda.
Thank you. I think we're kind of winding down a little bit. Just one last announcement. I'm not sure if, anybody has time or whatever, but I'm going to be interviewed today on the Michelle Moore show. She is on PPN. And that's today at 3:00 Central Time. She's out of Nashville, and I will be interviewed on that about the WAVwatch. And then Sunday from it's 9 Central, so it's different times, I guess 8. I said it wrong already. It's 9 Eastern, 8 Central. I will be interviewed on the Truth Seekers. So if anybody wants to, catch up on any of that, and we'll see you next week, unless there's anything else that anybody needs to add. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, Linda. I had a message from me that you wanted to talk to me and unmute. Was that true or no?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't know what. Okay.
So, all right.
Yeah.
I
think that was stuck on Peggy. I got Peggy unmuted. I'm not very good at all these little buttons.
You do pretty well. This is great. This is really helpful, especially for Ron, because his blood pressure's gotten really bad lately, but we do have a ton of stress. So we're pretty excited to kind of, have him use that. He's waving.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks, Linda.
Yeah, thank
Glad I
you.
could finally get on. Dear
Yeah,
God,
thank
there's
you.
always something that comes up.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care. Bye-bye.